Have you ever had a moment where something felt off? Not scary at first. Just wrong. Like reality missed a step. Like the world blinked, but you didn't. Some people believe reality is solid and unchangeable. Others believe it's more like a system, a simulation. And when systems get overloaded, they glitch. What you're about to hear are not theories. They are experiences, told by people who lived through moments that should never happen. This is the first story. And once you hear it, you may start noticing the glitches too. Daniel Harris was not a superstitious man. He believed in routine, logic, and patterns. That's why the first sign of something being wrong didn't scare him. It confused him. Daniel woke up at 6:17 a.m. The sound of his alarm was sharp and familiar. He reached out, turned it off, and stared at the ceiling for a few seconds. Everything felt normal. Too normal. He went to the bathroom, brushed his teeth, and noticed the same small crack in the mirror, the one that had been there for years. In the kitchen, the smell of coffee filled the air. His wife Emily stood near the counter, wearing her blue sweater. She always wore that sweater on Mondays. "Morning," she said without turning around. "Morning," Daniel replied. On his drive to work, traffic moved slowly as usual. A red sedan passed him on the highway, swerving slightly. It had a dent on the left door and a broken taillight. Daniel remembered it clearly because it almost hit his car. At the office, his coworker Mark spilled coffee on himself at 9:32 a.m. Again. Daniel joked. "Worst luck ever," Mark laughed. Lunch came and went. Daniel ordered a chicken sandwich. The cashier dropped it, apologized, and made another one. At 5:41 p.m., Daniel left work and drove home. That night, as he lay in bed, Daniel felt a strange pressure in his chest. Not fear. Not pain. Déjà vu. Like he had already lived this day. Daniel woke up. 6:17 a.m. He sat up immediately. The alarm clock blinked the same numbers. His heart began to race. He rushed into the kitchen. Emily stood there. Same blue sweater. "Morning," she said. Daniel didn't answer. On the highway, the same red sedan passed him. Same dent. Same broken taillight. His hands tightened on the steering wheel. At work, Mark spilled coffee at 9:32 a.m. Daniel stood frozen. At lunch, the sandwich fell. This was no coincidence. When Daniel got home that night, he told Emily everything. She listened quietly, then smiled. "You're stressed," she said. "You said the same thing yesterday." Daniel's blood ran cold. "Yesterday," he whispered. The day repeated again. And again. 5 times. Each time, Daniel tried to change something. He left earlier. He took a different road. He warned Mark. He ordered something else for lunch. The world corrected itself every time. If Daniel avoided the highway, the red car appeared on a side street. If he stopped Mark from holding coffee, someone else bumped into him. If he ordered soup, the cashier spilled it. Reality refused to change. On the 6th loop, Daniel stayed home from work. He locked the doors and covered the clocks. At 9:32 a.m., his phone rang. Mark's name flashed on the screen. "I spilled coffee," Mark said. "But you weren't here." Daniel dropped the phone. That night, Emily looked at him with tired eyes. "How many times are you going to do this?" she asked. "Do what?" Daniel said. "Try to wake up." The next morning, Daniel woke up at 7:03 a.m. The loop had ended. Relief washed over him. But something inside him had changed. He no longer trusted time. Or routine. Or reality itself. Years later, Daniel still avoids checking clocks. Because sometimes, when he accidentally looks, they read 6:17. And he feels like the day is about to begin again. Laura Bennett believed in facts. She trusted what she could see, hear, and touch. That belief shattered on a quiet Thursday evening inside a grocery store. It started like any normal day. Laura stopped by the store after work to buy milk and bread. The place was half empty. Soft music played through the speakers. The air smelled like cleaning chemicals and fresh fruit. She pushed her cart down the frozen food aisle when she saw him. Her heart skipped a beat. It was her brother, Kevin. He stood near the freezer, staring at a glass door filled with frozen meals. He wore his brown jacket, the one he had owned since college. A small scar sat above his right eyebrow. Laura knew that scar well. But this was impossible. Kevin was supposed to be thousands of miles away. He had moved overseas 3 months ago for work. They talked on video calls every weekend. She had spoken to him just 2 days ago. Her mind raced. "Kevin," she said softly. He didn't respond. Laura pushed her cart closer. Her heart pounded harder with every step. "Kevin," she said again, louder. He slowly turned his head. Their eyes met. For a brief moment, Laura felt relief. Maybe he had surprised her. Maybe plans had changed. Then he smiled. The smile was wrong. It was too slow. Too stiff. Like someone copying how a human smiles without fully understanding it. Laura felt a cold wave crawl up her spine. "Why didn't you tell me you were back?" she asked. Kevin didn't speak. He turned and walked toward the end of the aisle. "Kevin, wait," Laura said, abandoning her cart. She followed him around the corner. The aisle was empty. No doors. No exits. Nowhere he could have gone. Her breath became shallow. Her hands shook. She pulled out her phone and called Kevin. He answered on the second ring. "Hey, sis," he said casually. Laura felt dizzy. "Where are you?" she asked. "At my apartment," Kevin replied. "Why do you sound weird?" "I just saw you," Laura whispered. "At the grocery store." There was a pause. "That's not possible," Kevin said. "I haven't left my place all day." Laura hung up without saying goodbye. She rushed toward the front of the store, her eyes scanning every aisle. That's when she saw him again. Kevin stood near the automatic doors. This time, he wasn't smiling. He was staring directly at her. Not blinking. Not moving. Just watching. People walked past him as if he wasn't there. Laura froze. Then, slowly, Kevin turned and walked outside. Laura followed, her legs feeling weak. She stepped through the doors into the parking lot. He was standing near the edge of the road. Cars rushed by. "Kevin," she shouted. He stepped forward. Right into traffic. Laura screamed. A truck passed through the space where he should have been. Kevin vanished. No sound. No impact. No body. Just empty air. Security was called. Police arrived. Laura tried to explain what she had seen, but her words sounded insane even to herself. The security cameras were checked. Kevin never appeared in a single frame. Not once. That night, Laura couldn't sleep. Her phone buzzed at 2:14 a.m. A message from Kevin. It was a photo. Kevin standing in the grocery store. Frozen food aisle. Same jacket. Same scar. Timestamped 6:42 p.m., the exact time Laura had seen him. Her hands trembled as she typed back. "When did you take this?" Kevin replied a minute later. "I didn't. I don't remember being there." Laura deleted the photo. But she couldn't delete the feeling that something had broken. Over the next few weeks, strange things began happening. Laura would catch reflections in mirrors that moved a second too late. She heard footsteps behind her in empty rooms. Once, she saw Kevin standing across the street outside her apartment. When she blinked, he was gone. Kevin started acting strange too. He complained of headaches. Lost time. Dreams where he watched himself living another life. One night, Kevin called her, his voice shaking. "I feel like something copied me," he said. "Like I'm not the original anymore." Laura didn't know what to say. Neither of them spoke about the grocery store again. Months later, Kevin disappeared. No goodbye. No warning. His apartment was empty. His phone left behind. The last thing he sent Laura was a text message. "If you see me again, don't follow." Laura still goes to the same grocery store. Sometimes, she stands in the frozen food aisle, staring at the glass doors. And sometimes, she sees someone standing behind her. Smiling. James Walker trusted time more than people. Time was honest. It moved forward. It followed rules. That's what James believed, until the night time betrayed him. It was a Tuesday evening. Quiet. Normal. James sat alone in his apartment, half watching the television while scrolling on his phone. The room was dim, lit only by the glow of the screen and a small lamp near the couch. He checked the clock on the wall. 8:05 p.m. He remembered the time clearly because his favorite show was about to start at 8:10. James leaned back and blinked. That's all. Just a blink. When his eyes opened again, the television was off. The room felt colder. The lamp flickered. James sat up straight and looked at the clock. 9:17 p.m. His stomach tightened. More than an hour had passed. But he had no memory of it. No memory of standing up. No memory of turning off the TV. No memory of anything at all. He grabbed his phone. There were messages. Messages he didn't remember writing. Sent between 8:21 and 9:06 p.m. The first message was to his best friend, Ryan. "Do you ever feel like the world pauses when you're not looking?" Ryan had replied. "What are you talking about? Are you okay?" James had sent another message. "I can see it now. The cracks." The last message sent chilled him to the bone. "They don't want us to notice." James dropped the phone. His hands were shaking. He tried to think. Tried to remember anything from that missing hour. Nothing. Just darkness. The next morning, James checked his apartment security system. He almost didn't want to. A deep instinct told him that whatever he would see, he wouldn't be able to forget. He played the footage from 8 p.m. Ames sat on the couch, watching TV. At 8:05 p.m., he looked at the clock. Then something strange happened. At 8:06 p.m., James stopped moving. Not slowly. Instantly. Like someone had pressed pause. He sat perfectly still. Eyes open. Chest barely rising. Minutes passed. The clock in the corner of the footage ticked forward, but James didn't move at all. At 8:42 p.m., something changed. James's head turned. Very slowly. Not toward the TV. Not toward the door. But directly toward the camera. James leaned closer to the screen, his heart pounding. At 8:46 p.m., the version of him on the footage smiled. It wasn't his smile. It was wider. Empty. Unfamiliar. James slammed the laptop shut. He ran to the bathroom and threw up. Over the next few days, the missing hour returned. Always at night. Always without warning. James would be washing dishes, then suddenly it was later. He would be reading, then suddenly pages had been turned. His phone filled with messages he didn't remember sending. Drawings appeared in his notebook. Strange symbols. Circles inside squares. Lines that repeated again and again. James began to feel watched. Not by someone else, but by himself. Desperate, James visited a doctor. The tests showed nothing. No signs of seizures, the doctor said. No memory disorder. James didn't feel relief. He felt fear. One night, James set up extra cameras. He wanted answers. At 7:59 p.m., he sat on the couch and stared directly into the camera. "I'm watching you," he whispered. At 8:01 p.m., his vision blurred. When he woke up, it was 9:14 p.m. James didn't check the footage right away. He already knew. But he watched it anyway. At 8:02 p.m., James stood up. He walked around the apartment. He touched the walls. He pressed his palm against the mirror. Then he leaned close to the camera. And spoke. No sound came through, but James could read his own lips. "I know you're watching." The recorded version of James smiled again. Then, at 9:13 p.m., he returned to the couch and sat down. The next second, the real James woke up. James stopped sleeping. He covered the mirrors. He turned off the cameras. But it didn't stop. The missing hours still came. One night, James found a note taped to his door. Written in his handwriting. "Stop trying to remember." James packed a bag and left the apartment that same night. He never returned. The building manager later reviewed the footage. On the final night, James never left. At 8:03 p.m., he stood in the center of the apartment. And stayed there. Perfectly still. 4 hours. Some people say James had a mental breakdown. Others say he disappeared. But a few tenants swear that sometimes, late at night, they see a man standing in that empty apartment. Not moving. Not blinking. Watching. Waiting for 8:05 p.m. Michael Reed understood systems. He worked as a software engineer for a company that built large-scale simulations. Not games. Not animations. Complex environments used to predict human behavior, traffic flow, and social patterns. Michael believed everything followed rules. That belief ended one night. It was almost midnight when the error appeared. Michael was alone in the office, the building quiet except for the low hum of computers. He stared at his monitor, tired eyes scanning lines of code. Then the screen went black. A single line of white text appeared. "Error, reality buffer overflow." Michael frowned. "That's not funny," he muttered. He hadn't written anything like that. No one on his team had. The system they worked on wasn't connected to any external network. It couldn't generate messages like that. Before he could react, the lights flickered. Once. Twice. Then everything stopped. The hum vanished. The air felt thick, heavy, like the world had lost depth. Michael stood up from his chair. Silence. Absolute silence. He snapped his fingers. No sound. He looked toward the glass wall of the office. People were frozen mid-movement. A woman stood with a coffee cup halfway to her lips. A man leaned forward in his chair, eyes open but empty. Time wasn't paused. It was missing. Michael took a step forward. The floor felt wrong. Slightly soft. Like it hadn't finished loading. He touched the wall. His fingers pressed in, leaving a faint ripple, like touching wet paint. His breathing quickened. "This isn't real," he whispered. A voice answered him. "You weren't supposed to notice." Michael spun around. The office behind him was empty now. No people. No desks. Just darkness stretching outward, broken only by floating lines of green symbols, code. Not computer code. Something older. Something alive. What is this? Michael asked. The voice came from everywhere. A correction. Michael's heart pounded. A correction to what? To you. Suddenly, memories flooded his mind, moments that never felt right. Lost time. Repeated conversations. Dreams where the world looked unfinished at the edges. You've seen the glitches, the voice said. You kept asking why. Michael backed away. Are we in a simulation? He asked. The symbols flickered. Labels don't matter. Michael felt anger rise through his fear. So people just reset. Disappear. Most never notice, the voice replied. Those who do, are removed. Michael clenched his fists. Then why am I still here? There was a pause. Because you're useful. The darkness shifted. Michael saw versions of himself, dozens of them, each living slightly different lives. Different choices. Different endings. You help stabilize the system, the voice said. Even without knowing. Michael shook his head. No. I won't forget this. The symbols flashed violently. That is not optional. Michael woke up at his desk. The lights were normal. The office noise had returned. His coworkers moved, talked, laughed. His screen showed regular code. No error. No message. His watch read 12:03 a.m. Only 3 minutes had passed. Michael stood up slowly. No one noticed him. That morning, Michael quit his job without explanation. He destroyed every computer he owned. Threw away his phone. Covered the windows of his apartment. But the world felt wrong now. Too smooth. Too quiet. Like a video playing at the wrong speed. Weeks later, Michael started seeing patterns. Numbers repeating. People saying the same phrases in the same tone. Strangers staring at him just a little too long. One night, he found a note on his kitchen table. Written in his handwriting. Stop pushing the boundaries. Michael laughed. A broken, hopeless laugh. He wrote back. Or what? The response appeared the next morning. You'll be reset. Michael recorded a final message. If you're watching this, he said into the camera, then something went wrong. Or right. I don't know anymore. But if reality feels thin, if time skips, if people repeat themselves. You're not crazy. He uploaded the video. Minutes later, his power cut out. The room went silent. The walls softened. The voice returned. This is your last warning. Michael looked directly into the darkness. People deserve to know. The voice spoke calmly. They won't remember you. Michael Reed officially disappeared on a Thursday night. No body. No evidence. No footage. But his video still exists. It appears randomly on the internet. Re-uploaded by accounts that don't exist. Deleted and reappearing. And sometimes, near the end of the video, there's a brief glitch. Just a few frames. Michael staring straight into the camera. Smiling. If you've ever felt like reality skipped. If the world didn't feel solid for a moment. Maybe it wasn't your imagination. Maybe the system corrected itself. And maybe you noticed something you weren't supposed to.